Great, here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Real Brave Live. My name is Dan and founder of Real Brave. Today I'm very excited because we're going to do something we've been promising for a while, which is we're going to teach. We're going to teach to you here right now. And we've been doing this for a while. We've been doing this about a year as far as the program is concerned because we wanted to have an additional outlet to talk to you, the viewer, someone trying to learn. And what we've been doing for a year is really just talking about news, discussing music. But today, the inaugural episode of Learning How to Play, really, I have someone who's to my right. His name is Nick Saya. He's a wonderful guitarist. He's a Real Brave instructor, and he's agreed to help us with these programs where we're gonna teach. We're gonna answer some questions about what you need help with. And my goal with this is to make sure that you can hear one of these episodes or see one of these episodes, take something away from it so that you can develop as a musician. We'll be doing guitar, we'll be doing piano, we'll be doing vocals, we're doing just about everything. And we'll be answering some questions such as, how do I develop my own style of playing, which is something that we want to focus on today. And I'm honored that Nick took the time. Thank you for doing this, Nick. Where are you right now, by the way?
I am actually here in Queens. I live in Astoria, so I am pretty close.
For a while.
Are you at the Queens location?
No, I'm in the Jersey location.
All right, well then not that close. But
for a while, you were in Baltimore, though, right? Especially during the pandemic's early days.
No, I had actually I moved here from Baltimore about a year ago, almost exactly. So yeah, I think I visited Baltimore once since the pandemic began, but other than that, Queens.
Got it. All right, so cool. And actually, I just realized one thing, that we are not live on Facebook right now, but that's okay. I'll push it as soon as we're done because I selected the thing. But that's okay. It happens. This is live, folks. This is live. So it gives us a little bit of leeway, though. So this is a good thing. So the operative question that we have today, Nick, for the first training here that we have is how do I develop my own style of playing? And I remember as a kid thinking that one thing. I remember seeing guitarists and being like, I want to do that, but I don't know how to get there. So tell us today, what's one of the styles that any guitarist can take on? What are you going to talk about today?
Sure. Well, that's a great question. And if any of my students at Real Brave are watching this will sound very familiar. I always say, no matter what you're going for, you want to soak up as much as you possibly can, as much information as you can. I myself would consider myself kind of like an experimental, like avant-garde musician, but I've studied rock, funk, blues, jazz, bluegrass, folk music. And the latter of those two are a little bit what we're going to be talking about today. Today we're going to focus on finger picking, which means exactly what it sounds like. It's basically just taking the pick, putting it right here, and just using our 5 fingers. This is also a technique that you will find pretty frequently in classical guitar. As you can see from this guitar and my other guitar, that is not a thing that I play. So we are going to be focusing more on folk music, bluegrass, old time, folk, anything like that. Generally, for guitar, it uses a lot of finger picking, and it gets a really specific and very beautiful sound.
Yeah. So when you use any sort of finger picking style, and I noticed you put your pick in a spot that I've never seen it.
So this is this guitar. It's called an arch top. Which is just because the top is literally arched. But this has a floating neck pickup. And if you can see closely, there's a little bit of a gap in the neck.
Oh wait, let me switch screens here. Hold on a second.
Yeah, this is a little bit specific to this guitar. It's a very useful place to store one's guitar pick.
Yeah, hang on a second. All right, there we go. Try that one more time because I had the.
Here, yeah. If you have an archtop guitar, pro tip: right here, the neck kind of goes away from the body a little bit.
I like
And
that.
I use a pretty thick pick. A thin Fender pick might just fall through, but if you have a thicker pick, you can just wedge it right in there, and then you have easy access if you want to switch between. So I've always found that very useful.
So what do you use more then? What do you use more? I mean, why is it important to have two learning style? Well, two styles here. Like we want to focus. The question is, why is it important to develop more? How do I develop my own style? But what you're kind of insinuating here, playing with a pick or a plectrum, as we might call it, playing with a pick or playing with fingers. Why is it important to play with both?
Yeah, well, so actually, I mean, in my own style, I usually have a pick between my thumb and first, but I'm also using my other three fingers to sort of finger pick in addition to that. So I kind of use what most people would call a hybrid style. But in general, for you, the listener, no matter what you're doing, I think it's important to be able to do both because it gives you options, and options will always make you both a more versatile player. If you ever get called for a gig or if you're trying to learn a specific song, you can sound a lot of different ways. And then also, as you're developing your own personal style, you will have more to draw from. You'll have more sounds that are kind of in your. I like to think of it, if you're a painter, you have your palette of paints, and you can mix them. You can use any one you want, but that's sort of the initial resource that you're starting with. And if you can do more than one thing on guitar, you can make a lot of sounds that will only make you a more creative and interesting musician.
So you're hearing it here, folks. Having both your fingers and your as a tool and a pick is important for development. And I think you wanted to, speaking of development, just like with the Real Brave method here at Studio, we have three kind of areas that we like to focus on lessons, and this is important. This doesn't matter if it's in the lesson or whatever. Development, okay, kind of playing with somebody. Excuse me, is one of the most important things, and you can actually play something for me, which can show the advantages of using both right now, right? So I think we talked about the song it's a wonderful song by Elizabeth Cotten.
So it's a beautiful song. It's a classic. It's been covered by a lot of people in a variety of styles, which kind of ties into what we were talking about options. So Dan, as you were saying, that kind of initial frustration of being new to guitar and seeing people performing like, how do I do that? One of the things for me that was particularly infuriating was not being able to accompany myself and just feeling very stuck between either like rhythm guitar and like background guitar or lead playing, where you were just sort of playing a melody or a line. And I would hear my friends who play piano would be able to play things by themselves that sounded full, that really sounded like music.
Especially with piano.
Yeah, exactly right. Because on piano, you can play with your left hand, you can play with your right hand, melody, chords. You can really create a full sound. And for a long time, that was really, really hard for me on guitar, and it was super frustrating. And being able to play with your fingers gives you not quite the range that a piano has to that degree, but it allows you to accompany yourself a little bit. You're still only using this one hand to play on the neck, but you think about it, you have 5 fingers, so you can be playing multiple different things across the strings with that. So the example I wanted to give was this song called Freight Train by Elizabeth Cotten. And what I would like to do is I would like to play through the melody one time and play a sample of the chords one time, each as separate things, and then give a little demonstration of how we can actually, with finger picking, kind of bring those things together and create a full sound.
Cool. This sounds awesome. So we're going to get to hear you play a little bit. This is great. We're
okay. I'll start with the chords. And this is a little bit of a finger picking lesson in and of itself. Elizabeth Cotten played in a style that is native to the North and South Carolina regions, kind of the mid East Coast area, and it's called the Piedmont style, Piedmont blues, Piedmont. And we can delve into this more later. The most basic explanation I can give is that you are alternating the lowest note of the chord and whatever note is on the D string. That's the third string from the bottom. And you're doing that with your thumb, and then you're filling in the gaps with your other fingers. And again, we can get into more detail on that in a bit, but it sounds something like this.
Very cool.
Pretty simple. We got 4 chords. We got C, G, E, and F. Yeah, that's all of them.
Very cool. That was pretty. And that's something that I am familiar with too, is being able using that root, the thumb down there on the root, going back and forth. And that's the Piedmont method.
Piedmont, yeah. So actually, I won't play the whole thing for time, but if you subtract the other kind of fill in the space, just the thumb would sound like this. And so on and so forth. So not quite as interesting without the other fingers, but it's a bass line. It still kind of conveys where you're at. Pushing ahead.
Unless you play guitar.
Anyway, so the melody sounds like this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Something like that.
So you could take those two things. Now, this is important, folks. So what Nick was saying before is that, especially with an instrument like piano, you can play the bass notes or the roots or the bass chords, and then up here you can play a melody. Guitar, you have that too. It's a little tricky, right? Would you say it's a little tricky sometimes because of the way the guitar is put together?
It takes a minute to sort of wrap your head around it. Once you get it, you can kind of ferret it out.
And then with this style now, so if you're talking about style in general, with this style, it's gonna sound totally different. So what is sound? Sound is there's a word for it that I always pronounce wrong in college, which is timbre, but it's pronounced.
There you go. Yeah. it looks like it would be timbre. I still don't totally understand why it's not, but timbre.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me about why. Talk to me about the timbre, the sound. The difference between the two.
So I mean, it's pretty simple, I think. Let's go back to that melody that I just played. So right there, I was playing that mostly with my thumb, and I'm playing on pretty heavy steel strings, and even with those, to me at least, it's got a very sort of soft and like rounded feel to it. So. And if we compare that to me playing that same thing with a pick, we have...
Yeah, this is what I want to hear right here, the difference. Yeah. Yeah. So as musicians, we make these like ridiculous like words up to describe things.
Yeah.
When I was in the studio, we would be like, that sounds earthy, or like that sounds a little wooden. Can you make that a little bit harder? Like things like that.
When people talk about food or like fine wine, where you're just like, does that mean anything? What are we talking about here?
No, but it's true, because like when you're talking about timbre, and I don't want to get stuck on this because this is like one of my pet peeves in the studio, like when we're recording, it's the sound of things. How you play something and what you choose to play with it is going to, and the room that you're in, especially, you're in a bare room there, right? There's no rug. There's some stuff.
We've got a rug on the ground.
I do.
And I've put up a lot of art to dampen the sound a little bit.
Okay. So to me, I hear the difference. It's a little hard maybe over the interwebs to hear the difference between the difference of a finger hitting the string, which sounds to me like skin against a string. That's what it sounds like after 30 years of playing, versus the plastic hitting it. Just you just can tell the difference right away. It sounds a little earthy.
Yeah, the fingers feel a little earthier, more rounded. Whereas this is a very special pick. So this might not be totally applicable to everybody.
What kind of pick is that?
It's a stone pick.
A stone pick, like actual concrete.
No, made of like a polished gemstone. I think it's agate. I got it about 5 years ago, and I've never used anything else. And
you've never lost it, you maniac! What's wrong with you?
But I love this pick, but we don't need to get into this. Is not about pick.
What happens if you don't lose the pick, Nick? This. I need to know the story of the pick, and I want to hear it over the. Did you lose the pick? Do you still have the pick? I need to make sure you still have.
I still have the pick. It's this pick. I have lost it several times and always gone through absurd measures to find it.
How long have you had this pick?
5 years.
Wait a second.
Oh my god! Actually, no. I'm sorry. I've had this pick for longer. I've had this pick for closer to 8 years.
8 years? You've had the same pick?
You have no idea how hard I have worked to maintain this pick.
guys, listen. This is a thing. This is a tremendous breakthrough in pickery.
Man, when you have something that gives you the sound you want, you cannot let go of that. You need to fight your life to protect it.
Live in its special cave? Do you put it in like its own special box and like
it has a special box? I do not wear pants that don't have one of the little coin pocket. Because it always lives in the coin pocket on the side of jeans, so I know where it goes.
Fantastic! Oh, I'm so glad we started talking about this.
This is my most prized possession, honestly, even maybe more so than the guitar. No disrespect, but this is it.
Kevin, remember this. This is important. If we really want to hurt Nick, we take his pick. Okay.
Yeah, seriously.
Pick Nick. Yeah, so we've talked about we've talked a little bit about. I don't know if I can get past that. That's amazing.
People think I'm crazy, but trust me, if you played with this pick, you'd understand.
So we've kind of, we've talked about this hybrid. Are we going to talk more about this hybrid finger picking playing?
Well, yeah. So let's actually. So I've done the chords and I've done the melody. I would love to show how you can actually kind of fit those together with finger picking.
Okay.
So just in case we got a little sidetracked, but just to remind people, we've got the chords. And we've got the melody. Oh, I keep playing that wrong note. But yeah, if we want to put them together, what we do is we're still using our thumb to alternate on those low notes. We're using our middle two fingers to kind of fill in that middle of the chord space, and then we're using mostly our third finger, ring finger, to kind of catch that melody up at the top of the neck. And this a big thing that you want to think about when you're trying to play melody and accompaniment at the same time is making sure that you are going to have room for everything. Because there's only 6 strings. There's not that much space on the guitar. This is where we get into guitar stuff as opposed to piano. So you actually start thinking it's almost like Tetris. You just want to make sure, can I fit a full C chord underneath this melody? And luckily with this song, you very much can. So yeah, let me just give a quick demonstration I'll play one time.
Go for it. Go for it.
Of course. 2, 3, 4. So that's once through Freight Train. No frills, pretty simple, but playing the melody and accompanying yourself on guitar.
That's incredible. It sounded really cool too. What did you do at the end there?
Oh, a little. I'm a big fan of how would I explain this? You can do artificial harmonics where up at the 12th fret, well, I guess basically halfway between the bridge of the guitar and whatever note you're playing. So on an open string, it would be the 12th fret. You can take your finger, put it very lightly on the harmonic, and pluck it with your thumb. I can give you a close-up here.
Yeah, I was going to say, get it a little closer.
Here's this. So that's basically just artificial harmonics on your C chord.
So how did you grab that with your finger, though? How did you grab that?
Oh, at the very end, I actually just and just if you slap it on the 12th fret, you can actually get the same sound as plucking it. Yeah. It's very useful if you want to look fancier than you are.
You look very fancy. That and your pick.
So yeah, and again, no pick for that. Just your hands.
I saw an interview with Eddie Van Halen recently. Well, not recently because that'd be weird, but it was maybe last year, and he didn't look well. But last year he was talking to somebody, I forget who. But the point is this: he was talking about harmonics and his love of harmonics. But it's not just limited to, in his opinion, wasn't limited to the the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, the 9th, and the 12th fret. He was
Absolutely
talking about,
if we want to get into a little bit of harmonic stuff, you actually, if you learn properly, I'm shifting positions here, so this is more classical style because we're getting into some more difficult stuff. If you really master the soft touch, and that's all it is, with your left hand just as soft as possible. You don't need to press, you just really touch the string as lightly as you possibly can. If you really master that, you have 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th, 9th fret, 12th, and then it repeats. And even the scale repeats above the neck. There it is.
Cool. That's really cool.
Over the video chat, but
no, that came across great.
Yeah,
that came really, really great. You know, it's funny that as long as I've been playing, I've actually never done what you just did.
So that's what we call the overtone series, which is this gets a little bit less into notes and more into the actual physics of how sound works. But each note, you can hear this especially well on a nice grand piano. If you hit one note really loudly, you can actually hear what we call overtones, which are just extra vibrations that kind of project upwards from that note. And there's a very specific series of pitches that you get.
Very cool. Very cool. So to round this out, this is what I want to do. We're going to have to pause here and have a second part in this series of the finger picking program. I need a better name for that. Because we do have another guest lined up for 1:30. So how about this? What if we, this is part 1, and then we'll do a part 2 sometime early next week. What do you think of that?
That works great for me. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a pleasure.
Yeah. No, this has been fun, and as you can tell, this is a conversation. So what we want to do is, show, but also keep people enthralled because
sure.
We could go to the promised land of music and then bring nobody with us. It's just us alone. But seriously, the last thing you did is so cool. I've actually never done that on past a fretboard. I've never even occurred to me.
What gets even more fun is that once you put a finger down and fret a note, that whole series replicates, but you have to move it up by however much you. Let's say if you put a finger down on the 3rd fret, then your 12th fret harmonic would become the 15th fret, and so on and so forth. Oh, that's not right. I haven't prepared this. It's a little trickier, but you get the idea.
You get the idea, Nick. It's been awesome. I think this is a good inaugural episode, and I really appreciate this. So we'll start this. We'll do a part 2 of how to develop your own style of playing using the beginnings of finger picking. Continuing next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.